नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयं मुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter 3, verse number 12. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The verse starts with Nanam Yad Apratini Vritta Gunormi Chakram Atma Prasada Utayatra Guneshva Sangha Kaivalya Sammata Patasvatha Bhakti Yoga Ko Nivruta Harihi Katashu Ratim Nakuryat. One more time. Nanam Yada Prati Nivritta Gunomi Chakram Atma Prasada Utayatra Guneshva Sangha Kaivalya Sammata Patasvatha Bhakti Yoga Ko Nivritto Harikatashu Ratim na Kuryat. Gnanam, knowledge, yet, that with. Oh, sorry, something happened here. Give me 1 second. Gnanam, yet, sorry, Gnanam, knowledge, yet, that which are up to the limit of Pratinivritta, completely withdrawn, Guna, Urmi, the waves of the material modes, Chakram, whirlpool, Atma Prasadaha, self-satisfaction, Uta, moreover, Yatra, where there is Guneshu in the modes of nature, Asanga, no attachment, Kaivalya, transcendental, Sammatha, approved, Pataha, path, to, but, Ataha, therefore, Bhakti Yoga, devotional service, Kaha, who, Nivritta, absorbed in Harikatashu, in transcendental topics of the world. Ratim, attraction. Na, shall not. Kurya, do. Translation and purport by
Hare Krishna Prabhu, is my internet problem or?
Prabhuji, we are also not hearing Prabhuji.
Oh, okay. We lost his video also. He's joining from phone.
Yeah, actually, we can see the screen shared, Prabhuji.
Yeah, he's joining from phone. Maybe it just got stuck, Prabhu.
Okay.
Prabhu, can you hear
Hare
us now?
Krishna.
Yes.
No, I can hear, but my system somehow rebooted suddenly. So that was the issue. Give me 1 minute. I'm sorry about that. This is my office system. Something happened suddenly.
Okay.
So I logged in the phone. I'm sincerely sorry about that, but yes. Okay, and then the screen. make the class shorter because not many people are there anyway. So screen. Okay. Translation. Transcendental knowledge is in relation with the Supreme Lord Hari, is knowledge resulting in the complete suspension of the waves and whirlpools of the metal modes. Such knowledge is self-satisfying due to its being free from metal attachment. And being transcendental, it is approved by the authorities. Who could fail to be attracted? Purport.
If you want to
According to
turn on your
Bhagavad,
video, if you would like to, yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
yes, Prabhu, sorry. According to Bhagavad Gita 10.9, the characteristics of pure devotees are wonderful. The complete functional activities of a pure devotee are always engaged in the service of the Lord. And thus, the pure devotees exchange feelings of ecstasy between themselves and relish transcendental bliss. This transcendental bliss is experienced even in the stage of devotional practice, sadhana avastha, if properly undertaken under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master. And in the mature stage, the developed transcendental feeling culminates in realization of a particular relationship with the Lord by which a living entity is originally constituted up to the relationship of conjugal love with the Lord, which is estimated to be the highest transcendental bliss. Thus, Bhakti Yoga being the only means of God realization is called Kaivalya. Jiva Goswami quotes the Vedic version, Eko Narayano Deva Paravaranam Parama Aste Kaivalya Samjnita. In this connection, and establishes that Narayana, the personality of Godhead, is known as Kaivalya, and the means which enables one to approach the Lord is called Kaivalya Pantha, or the only means of attainment of Godhead. This Kaivalya Pantha begins from Shravana, or hearing those topics that related to the personality of Godhead. And the natural sequence of hearing such Harikatha is attainment of transcendental knowledge, which causes detachment from all mundane topics, from which a devotee has no taste at all. For a devotee, all mundane activities, social and political, become unattractive, and in the mature state, such a devotee becomes uninterested even in his own body. And what to speak of bodily relatives? In such a state of affairs, one is not agitated by the waves of the material modes. There are different modes of material nature, and all the mundane functions in which a common man is very much interested or in which he takes part become unattractive for the devotee. This state of affairs is described herein as the Pratinivritta Gunormi, and it is possible by Atma Prasada, or complete self-satisfaction without any material connection. The first-class devotee of the Lord attains this stage by devotion service, but despite his loftiness, for the Lord's satisfaction, he may play the voluntary part of a preacher of the Lord's glory and dovetail all into devotion service. Even mundane interests, such to give the neophytes a chance to transform mundane interest into transcendental bliss. Srila Rupa Goswami has described that this action of a pure devotee as Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yukta Vairagya Muchyate. Even mundane activities dovetailed with the service to the Lord are also calculated to be transcendental or approved Kaivalya affairs. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutalai Swayam Rupa Kalhamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patita Nama Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Lamgayate Girim Yatkrupatamahamam Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Nananandamayam Devam Nirmalam Sprikakurtim Adharam Sarva Vidyanam Hayagrivam Upasmaya. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak something about Srimad Bhagavatam today. Very fortunate to be in the association always. On the top of it, the Bhagavatam verse, that is today's verse, this chapter is entitled as a pure devotion service, of course, right? And then Prabhupada is, Shukadev Goswami is bringing all of us to understand stage by stage, including the previous day's verse saying what happens to Bhagavata Sangha. Yad Bhagavata Sangha. What happens to Bhagavata Sangha? Yesterday, Prabhu was also, Radha Kunja Bihari Prabhu was explaining very well. It says all kinds of the worshippers of multi-demigods can attain the highest perfection of benediction, which is spontaneous attraction, unflinchingly fixed upon the Supreme Personality of God only by the association of a pure devotee. So the next step after yesterday's verse is by the association of a pure devotee of the Lord. So this is the key, right? So coming to today's verse, Prabhupada in his purport, we can see he brought nectar of devotion, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, everything together, and he added multiple flavors into this verse to make us understand what is the importance of Harikatha, Harikatamrutam, how nectarian this Harikatha is, and what is the benefit of being in the association of a pure devotee. What is the benefit of being in the association of a pure devotee, like Srila Prabhupada's purports for us? Virtually, not physically, we are virtually in touch with Srila Prabhupada's purport. That means we are in touch with Srila Prabhupada, and in the association of all of you, this morning, Srila Prabhupada's mercy, Guru Maharaj's mercy, everybody's mercy, we are all together to hear Harikatha. How fortunate are we? Is a question. And now it all states from Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangha, and then Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti. We know the stages of devotion service, what happens when, what is the use of doing it. So my thinking in this verse was, first of all, what if there is no association? Why did this association did not come to us all these days? Only now it came. And then what once the association is there, and what is that experience we are getting from the association? These are the things I'm thinking about to express my thoughts. So now let me also open this. In the Bhagavad Gita, this is the Chaturshloki verse, right? Chaturshloki verse, it's not an ordinary thing. Again, what does it say? Machitta Madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam kateyantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. So that's what Prabhupada starts in with the Bhagavad Gita verse. Why is he giving all these verses? We have not much time, maybe 15 minutes max. So these are my thoughts. Please forgive me if I say something wrong, and request all of you to pray and bless me. In that way I can speak some words. One important thing I was thinking, what kind of faith we have in our life. Why people are not taking, because this particular verse is telling us transcendental knowledge in relationship with the Supreme Lord Hari is the knowledge resulting in the complete suspension of the waves of the whirlpools of the middle modes. We have heard that many times, that if these waves are just like whirlpools and of the metal modes, that means like a tsunami, how many waves are there in this ocean, and then every day it is bombarding us. Morning, afternoon, evening, no matter what, these metal modes are bombarding one after the other. And we still, what we do is, we try to see how to overcome these material modes. That's all we are doing in this life, in our life. If we don't have the process of devotion service, we will be trying to adjust, understand, and get a kind of a material solution to how to overcome this suffering of this material modes of existence. This is all exactly what we are doing because of the faithlessness of anything with it, which is transcendental. That is why we are all suffering. And that goes from birth to youth, birth to childhood, to youth, to old age, to death. And then if you don't, what I was thinking is, if we don't have Shraddha, it leads to Shraddha. Shraddha, and there is another birth, and then again another death, and then another Shraddha. Those these Shraddhas are going on in time immemorial, if at all we are continuing as a human being. If not, even Shraddha is also not there, right? So where we need to end up is to have Shraddha, which is faith. If we have faith, that leads us to Sadhu Sangha, which Krishna gives us the. If you have a little faith, Krishna gives us that such a kind of a Sadhu Sangha that we can associate with all of the devotees. That again, which devotee means all of us, like a peer, like all of us, and then one of the peers will take us to the pure devotee. Correct? That's how we all entered. We went to Bhakti Ruksha, we don't even know, say suppose, and then one devotee come, there is one one great Swamiji is coming, so we'll go there, we'll get his mercy, which is blessings, hear from him, and then he explains about the Prabhupada's purport, something. Then we'll develop more and more faith, and more faith will lead us to some kind of transcendental bliss. So what does that mean? Because in the second line it says, this transcendental bliss is experienced even in the stage of devotion practice, sadhana avastha. So why am I telling all this? Yes, we all get into this, what is this? A little faith, and we have association. Think about when we go to the center, we don't know anybody, we go to the center,
and our Dhananjay Pandit Prabhu is there, and he, with his pure consciousness, he gives us a knowledge and say, where are you from, etc. Then I'll say, can you repeat after me? Chant the holy name, and we'll chant the holy name of Krishna, and gives us the prasadam, and we'll take it. And he also invites us, please come on Sunday. And we'll go on Sunday, suppose if we have that faith. And why? Because that faith is already developed. This Dhananjay Pandit Prabhu is already in giving us an introduction to what Krishna is, what Krishna consciousness is, in the form of a prasadam and his words with the holy name. Then we get attracted, we'll go to that center, sit there in the Sunday feast and listen to a Bhagavatam or a Bhagavad Gita or whatever class they're giving. And then we have a nice feast with lots of devotees association, and then experiences, realizations. That gives us more and more strong faith. So the key is strong faith. So moment we develop strong faith, then we will get into the sadhu sangha, we practice the devotion services. But look at this, what in the third line, this transcendental bliss experienced even in the stage of devotion practice. So we will start with the sadhana, right? We don't know anything, then we understand that, oh, this is the sadhana we need to do, and we'll get into the sadhana. Once we get into the sadhana, and we are actually experiencing kind of a transcendental bliss. Are we pure devotees yet? No. But we are in the sadhana stage. But you understand that, or we understand that devotion service is actually transcendental, right? So which gives the transcendental bliss to each and everyone in this planet, or to anyone outside the planet or in the universe, anywhere, in any universes. If at all one takes the path of devotion service, he will get the transcendental bliss no matter what. Because the transcendental service, devotion service or bhakti is transcendental. Why? Because Krishna is transcendental. Anything in relation with Krishna, is transcendental. That means the bhakti yoga is transcendental, and then the devotion service is transcendental. Maybe our consciousness is not transcendental yet, but we definitely experience that bliss, transcendental bliss, because of the devotion service. So even in the stage of sadhana bhakti, we definitely experience some kind of a bliss, right? That's why everybody gets attracted to this ISKCON consciousness of Krishna. And what happens once you get there and we get the proper, and he says the key is, if you have that guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, oh my God, what happens? Then slowly our heart has many anarthas. It starts cleaning away. Cheto darpana marjanam, cleanses away. Then in due course of time, maybe 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, that doesn't matter. But eventually our heart becomes cleansed in the association of a pure devotee, by the mercy of spiritual master, by his blessings, and the association of all the devotees, because reminder after reminder helps us to practice devotion service every day. And then what happens? Even our consciousness gets slowly purified. When that consciousness gets slowly purified, then our relationship, see what he's telling? Our relationship develops with Krishna. Constitutional, we are actually Jivera Swarupa Krishnera Nityadas. Yes, but in what way? How are we connected to Krishna? What is our relationship with Krishna? That we don't know. So in this nectar of devotion, it starts with the sadhana. All the Bhakti Shastri, your candidates, you know much. I don't know much, but when we start the sadhana, then we'll go to Bhava Bhakti, and then we'll go to Prema Bhakti. Correct? So in the sadhana bhakti itself, we are having kind of a transcendental bliss, and get into the Bhava Bhakti. What happens to all of us? Just think about, forget about us. Think about Srila Romapada Maharaj, your spiritual master, our spiritual master. How are they so always their face, if you look at their face, is always bright. Why? Because they're always into Srimad Bhagavatam, always chanting, always 200% faith in Krishna. They don't have anything other than that. And then what do they discuss? Machitta Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam. If they meet another god brother, of course they keep meeting by virtually every day with some god brother or so and so, and then they will discuss only transcendental topics, none other than that. Whether the management or something, it is still the transcendental topics in relation with Krishna. And then Bodhayanta Parasparam, what will happen? The transcendental bliss is developed and will relish, and they will relish that. That's what the Machitta Madgata Prana means, correct? So it says, fully devoted in myself, that I have great satisfaction with always enlightening to one another and conversing about me. So what's the difference between us and the little bit advanced devotees and then the super advanced devotees, so on and so forth? What will happen? The faith is completely developed in them. And they don't care about anything else. They care about only themselves with Krishna. That means in compassionate with all the living entities, they are thinking only how to preach, how to be compassionate to uplift the consciousness of all the living beings. That is what compassion means, right? And they give their association to us, they bless us, they give us the mercy, and they also pull us to that extent, hand by hand, and give us the path and show us how to get there. It's not just the relation, and also we'll also experience one day that transcendental bliss in the consciousness level also. That's why it's Srila Goswami quotes that Eko Narayana Deva Para Varanam Parama Aste Kaivalya Sanjnita. See, this is Kaivalya, yes, very nicely explained. Kaivalya means transcendental. So what are the fruits of being practicing all this bhakti yoga, etc., etc.? What are we thinking about? End of the day, we are getting the transcendental knowledge. How are we getting the transcendental knowledge? We know this verse, famous verse, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janeti Asuvara Vairagyam, right? So I forgot the last verse. So when we are in the Bhakti Yoga, the transcendental knowledge develops and we automatically detach from this material modes of nature. In the sense, material attractions will come down. So that is the fruits of Harikatamrutam, especially starts with the Shravana, which is saying the Kaivalya Pantha begins from Shravana, or hearing those topics that relate to personality of Godhead, and natural consequence of hearing such Harikatha is attainment of transcendental knowledge. So we are getting into this Bhakti Shastri. Is it an academic course? Yes, it is academic in ISKCON to understand more about Krishna. But what are we really achieving is a transcendental knowledge, not just the knowledge. And then it is not the mundane topics, it's Krishna's topic. And what happens to hear, for all of us to hear more and more about the transcendental knowledge, we'll get detached with the mundane topics. And one fine day we will think, even forget our body. That means, what is it saying? That it is giving us the realization of self-realization that we are actually not the body. So don't get attached to your bodily or body consciousness or extended bodily consciousness. Say the extended, we are attached to whether our body or our extended body, like a family, so on and so forth. Right? Even Kunti Maharani prays, I don't want this family members. Why? That's the ultimate to understand, because we need all the devotees. Kunti Maharani also has her own children. They're all Mahabhagavatas. They're all devotees, great devotees of the Lord. She is praying Krishna that even I don't need that family attachment. I want only you, Krishna. Think about what a transcendental. She is even transcending that. I don't even want children. Of course, the children are devotees. We are actually looking for devotees only. Correct? See, that knowledge takes us that me and relationship with Krishna only, nothing else. So that we develop the prema, Krishna prema of the stage takes from sadhana to bhava bhakti and then into the rasas. What rasas? Are you in a conjugal relationship with Krishna? Are you in sakha? Are you a friend? Are you in servant? Correct? All these 5 kind of relationships with Krishna, mother, parental, which is madhurya, what is the parental reflection, right? So we have parental, we have friendship, we have servant, we have so on, so forth, and prema ultimately, correct? So ultimately, we don't know where we are, our consciousness, we don't know. There's such a corrupted consciousness here, but we will develop that consciousness in such a way that we in relationship with Krishna in one rasa, in the primary rasas. See how it's a simple thing to understand, but it is taking us from a simple, we call it as a simple. So what we need to understand is from this verse, with our simple heart, simple consciousness, not consciousness is not simple, it's very complex for us, but with our pure simple heart, just have that simple faith with the devotee of the Lord, with the devotee, not even pure devotee, with the devotee of the Lord, with the association with the Lord, they will take us to the spiritual master. And spiritual master, which is all happens with a simple faith, which Krishna orchestrates. With that faith, he will give us the devotees, he will give us the spiritual master. And once Krishna gives us the spiritual master, then spiritual master gives us Krishna. How beautiful this verse is, how very nicely put together, everything together. Anyway, I was very fortunate to discuss this with all of you. Thank you very much. And I'll stop here. It's already late. Anybody has comments, questions, we will take it. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Vancha kalpatrubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anybody has any comments, questions, Prabhus? Haribol.
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Guru and Gauranga. Prabhuji, wonderful, wonderful, class in the morning. So, particularly, you explaining Kaivalya and, also how only bhakti can be achieved through the association of pure bhakti was so wonderful, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Prabhu, this is, this particular verse reminds me of not just hearing. It's actually Prabhupada in the first line is telling Machita Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam. So this flavor with a different flavor, even though we hear, when do we get the transcendental bliss? Is we need to discuss each other more and more. So that is what our relationship with Eva as a devotee means. We need to discuss any devotee, we have to discuss more and more about Krishna. Then both of us will feel that bliss. That's what the understanding is. That's why even in 2 minutes of discussion, we should discuss something about Krishna.
So nice, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
All right. If anybody else, otherwise we can stop. Lakshmikant Prabhu, all yours.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for a nice class. When it comes to the topic of association, you are the best person to speak.
Sorry?
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes. Now I can hear you.
Okay, no. I was saying nice class. So when it comes to the speaking on associations, you are the best person to speak. I'm saying so.
Anyway,
So,
bless me, pray for me. At least
thank
I
you so
will
much, Prabhu.
inspire myself.
One point, it was like coming from the NOD, even at the stage of sadhana bhakti, we can experience the transcendental bliss. Right? May not be at the mature stage of what an experience of bhava, but even to some extent we can experience. So, that's how we see once in a while with chanting when we are in association of devotees, we experience some kind of I don't know. I mean, I should say it's a bliss because it's not from us. It's coming from bhakti, or it's coming from the association of those devotees. Right? We experience some kind of out of the world kind of experience, right? But that doesn't stay with us because our consciousness is not pure, right? What
Correct.
Vaisheshik Prabhu gives like a samples, right? Krishna gives a samples, but if you want to get the whole thing, you have to pay the price.
Yes. Consciousness is not transcendental yet,
Yeah.
but we feel that happiness, right? The moment anybody comes and sits in the Srimad Bhagavatam class or Hare Krishna Kirtan, they feel some kind of happiness, which is actually not happiness. It's a transcendental bliss.
Yeah.
Correct, no? People will go to Sadhu Sangha, my God, people they will just get into ecstasy immediately. They start jumping just by the Kirtan. They'll start step by step, then they'll do a Kirtan, and they'll start jumping in ecstasy. That's actually is why? Because this is transcendental. It's
Coming
not
from somewhere.
consciousness is transcendental, not, but it makes us in bliss. That's an example I was thinking.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, if I may interrupt you, there was one thing I forgot to ask you. You talked about Ado Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya. Can you please quickly explain, if you have the time, explain that verse again?
Prabhu, everybody has this experience. Otherwise, we wouldn't have come here in this association. Little Shraddha, little faith, that why, think about it. Even I'm thinking about this, okay? In the Rath Yatra, people start jumping in the Rath Yatra festival. When the cart is going towards, they're all very blissful. All the devotees are very blissful. Jan started jumping, dancing. And the people outsiders, when they see this, what is that? They are in so much bliss, so much happiness. What is that making them so much like that? Oh, maybe if I and then they will also become ecstasy. The moment they come there, they also dance along with us. They feel ecstasy. So they are developing a little faith. Wow, such a nice thing. So Lord Jagannath is right there. He understands our heart, and then he gives that faith. You be in this association, then you will feel the bliss. That's how he attracts. Actually, I'm thinking about my spiritual master. That's how he came into Krishna consciousness. He went into California, San Francisco, or somewhere. Jayanand Prabhu was there. And he went there. He was in complete bliss. He just went, attended the Rath Yatra. Jayanand Prabhu said, come, help me. And he assisted him in some service. Next day, he was in the temple chanting 32 rounds. Can you imagine? So how that kind of, he did not chant 32 rounds every day. It was only one day. That's what Maharaj said. What I mean to say is a little faith, and that came, what is this happiness? That is Shraddha, a little Shraddha. Krishna orchestrates and give us that Sadhu Sangha, because Sadhu Sangha is Jayanand Prabhu was right there. He gave the Sadhu Sangha. And then Bhajana Kriya happened instantaneously within a few days. Same thing happens to all of us. Maybe it's not a day, but in the due course of time, we'll see how we get there. That's why the Sankirtan, Patel brothers Sankirtan going on right now. Who knows? All pure devotees with their consciousness, purified consciousness, if they speak even one word of Srila Prabhupada and take the books, they touch the books, they'll get the faith. They open the book, even read a little bit, then they will find the address, they'll come to our center. There ends their matter of material consciousness, right? Simply to understand, a little bit of understanding. So I don't want to get more, but that's my understanding. What do you think, Prabhu?
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you for explaining it.
Okay, I think we are going beyond the time. If anybody else has, otherwise quick 1 minute, otherwise we'll stop, Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. It is very nice listening to you, especially when it comes to this process, association. As Lakshmikant Prabhu said, you are the best person to speak about it. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare
Thank you
Krishna.
for Hare Krishna. Pancha kalpadrubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti Vaishnava.